Okay, welcome back to the Nick Leach Show. Today is Thursday, September 28th, and we've got a jam-packed show to get to today. We're going to talk more than just football today, Steady. We're going to obviously talk about college football last week since we did not do that on Tuesday's show. We're going to do some of that. We've got our NFL primetime preview, and then we've got some Ryder Cup. We've got golf this week that we want to touch on as well. And then, being the Detroit sports enthusiasts that we are, we've got to talk Miguel Cabrera. His last week in Major League Baseball is this week. So sad time. Feels like my childhood's coming to an end. So very exciting show. A lot to get to. But before we do any of that, completely off topic here, but we were in a group chat earlier today, Steady and myself, and it came to the attention of, I would say, the group as a whole, that I think you're either one or two types of guys as you get older. You're either a guy that owns a ton of belts where you can match different outfits, or you are a guy that owns one or two belts and wear those with every single outfit. I figured out I am a guy that owns a ton of belts, probably like 8 to 10 for a variety of different outfits and colors. And then Steady, you are a two belt type of guy where you've got, I believe what you said, a brown and a black belt, which I just assume as people got older, you just acquire more belts over time and don't get rid of your old ones as well.
No, you ride them until they are dead. Unless to be fair, I don't really use belts. How often are you actually having to use a belt that's visible? Outside of the work setting, it's not very often. So I'm not tucking in my shirts just to live my life every day. So what the belt looks like doesn't really matter. And so yeah, I have a black and a brown belt, and pretty much go until they dissipate, until they break. And they just break because they're old. And so, I get rid of those ones. I don't keep them around. I just don't see the need of having more belts. I just don't get a belt when I need it, and it lasts me a long-ass time. Belts last very, very long. It's been years since I bought the last brown belt. And brown I use way more often than black. Black, I feel like I at least rarely use it unless I'm dressing up in something that requires a black belt.
Yeah, I think it also might have to deal with too. I would bet good money
Golf
that golfers own a variety of belts, and that's the reason why I own so many belts to this day. Quick plug here. So I don't know if you've ever heard of what they call next belts. They're almost like a ratchet type belt where you don't actually put it through the loop. It changed my life. I'll never go back to a normal belt unless it's a super dressy occasion. And those belts, I think, will last even longer than
Probably.
a normal belt will, because there's not a hole that gets, plugged in and out every single time you take it off or put it on. So quick plug for them. And I've got, I think, 7 or 8 different, I've got black, brown, navy blue, white, might even have a red one in there for, whatever the occasion
how often
is.
do you wear those ones that aren't those other colors other than black and brown in everyday life outside of golf?
So that is the thing. I wear them all the time because I wear golf stuff for my job.
Oh, I guess that's true.
So yeah, and then it comes down and then you gotta get stingy or a little bit bougie with it as you start matching your, you either you match your belt to your pants or you match it to the color shirt that you're wearing. I've definitely become bougie in that aspect. And, I just thought it was interesting that, it's not really a conversation you ever have with somebody. It's just something that happens one way or the other, I believe, over the course of time. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it. Especially like you said, a lot of times you're probably just in a public setting wearing jeans and a t-shirt. How often are people really gonna see your belt? But I'm in the standpoint now I've got the colors to match the pants I'm wearing. I'm probably gonna wear that color.
Yeah, I don't wear a belt very often to begin with. If I'm just walking around they're not pants I'm trying to keep up to my waist. I'm not even wearing a belt. It's just another hassle when I have to go to the bathroom, so I just don't even wear a belt most of the time anymore.
That's one line. That's one line I will draw, is that if I'm wearing any type of pants that have belt loops, I have to have a belt in there, or I won't feel like I'm fully dressed. I almost feel like I'm naked.
Nah, it's so much better not wearing a belt, dude. It's so much better.
No, to me it's so uncomfortable.
No, I'm over 30 now, dude. Who cares what I look like? It's over. It doesn't matter.
I went to go play golf earlier this year, and I totally forgot to wear a belt, and I was like, I almost felt like I was out in public without my shirt on, and I immediately went into the golf shop and bought a belt that would go with what I was wearing, because it would have messed up my entire day. There's no way I could have played golf normal if I did not have a belt on.
No, I mean, if I'm going golfing, I'm wearing a belt. I'll even just wear one of my normal belts.
I can't go out in public. I can't go out in public though without wearing a belt. I will feel completely naked to the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rarely tucking my shirt in unless I'm at work, so I'm just don't care. No one's ever seen it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty interesting topic that got brought up for sure.
Well, and I think a lot of people do the reversible black and brown belt too, and just wear that one down and just go get another one.
Wear the same belt. I would say I did that. I for sure did that through high school and stuff when I didn't know any better or didn't have the best dress etiquette in the entire world. So I was definitely there at one point. I guess you say I just grew up and started playing more golf. That's why I have more belts. So
yeah,
you just got to be prepared for that. If you get into golf, you're going to need some belts.
Probably. To be fair, too, I also don't play good courses when I golf, so I'm rarely tucking my shirt in there either. I'll still wear a belt, though.
Just in case you got to class it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fair. Got to be ready for whatever the course throws at you. No, I thought that was... It literally stuck. I think we talked about that earlier this morning, and it stayed in my mind all day. Is like, all right, like... I'm definitely I'm a belt person through and through, and I'm not sorry about it by any means.
I'm sad no one laughed at my joke at the end of that, but that's fine. You guys just ignored it. It's like, well, all right.
To be honest,
that funny.
I can't even remember the joke that you made.
I said belts are like underwear. You have one for the daytime and one for nighttime.
Well, part of me, I was like, he actually might be saying like that might be something true that he sticks to. So I was like,
no shot.
If you're a person that only has one or two pairs of underwear,
dude, there's no way, bro.
You better get a reality check.
There's no way.
No way. If you came out and told me that, I would stop this podcast and I'd probably stop hanging out.
No, I'm the type of person that if I go away for like 3 days, I'm packing like 6 pairs of underwear just to make sure I have enough, just in case something weird happens.
Yep, you can't ever trust a fart. So
no, I have way too much underwear. It's insane.
Same. I do the same exact thing. All right, I guess enough belt talk. Let's actually talk some sports like we do like to do here on this show. All right, so we're gonna recap a little bit of the week 4 slate from college football, which saw a lot of good games. But I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, Steadies. I think maybe a handful of these games actually lived up to the hype going into it, as far as the ranked matchups go, because a few of the games that just turned into blowouts. So I think the first one that we want to touch on is the Ohio State and Notre Dame game. And Ohio State came back and won that game 17-14 at the very end. And I honestly thought it was over after Notre Dame went up late in that game. But Ohio State marched right back down the field. And, shockingly enough, I feel like that win for them could actually maybe catapult their offense a little bit. I'm still skeptical. They have not scored a lot of points and looked like the Ohio State offense that we're used to seeing, especially with Marvin Harrison Jr. a part of it. So for the rest of the Big Ten, I think, if I'm Michigan, I'm still not too worried about Ohio State from that matter. But this should be a huge momentum pusher for the Ohio State team to to move further down the line and hopefully get a undefeated matchup against Michigan at the end of the year.
No, I think if you're still ranking the Big Ten East teams, I honestly think Penn State's looked the best so far this year, and then Michigan and then Ohio State. Notre Dame pretty much gave them this win. It's insane how poor the defense was on that last drive, especially having 10 men on the field for the last 2 plays of the game on the goal line. Stupid. And also their offense looked terrible in this game. I'm shocked at how bad Sam Hartman looked. They weren't able to put up more than 14 points. That's shocking to me. But on the same token, Ohio State did not look good offensively. Michigan and Penn State, I think, both have better defenses than Notre Dame. We'll see what what Ohio State and Penn State do. They play each other here in a few weeks, and that game should be pretty telling on what's going to happen later down the year, because Michigan goes to Penn State goes to Ohio State, and then, of course, Ohio State comes to the Big House. So it's going to be an interesting little trio. All those teams could have one loss. Goes to whatever the tiebreaker is. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head if that's the scenario, if they speed up on each other. But I think for sure you have a playoff team out of the Big Ten East. I wasn't super impressed by anything Ohio State did. I don't think really anybody is. I mean, hey, Ryan Day, listen up. I'm a lot younger than Lou Holtz, and I'm still going to call your team soft. You got ran over in this game, too. I mean, almost 200 yards on the ground. And guess what? Penn State and Michigan have better offensive lines and better running backs than Notre Dame does. And it could be trouble again for you because your team is very soft. So we'll see what happens, but I'm not high on Ohio State. I think this kills Notre Dame's season. You don't play in a championship game, I think you're pretty screwed. And especially if Ohio State does take a loss at some point and doesn't get into the Big Ten championship, you're done. You have no chance to get in the 14 playoffs. So, yeah, I think Notre Dame more lost this game. They should have won it. Notwithstanding the goal line stand. I mean, before that the play to get to the goal line stand, it was pretty much a soft defense, and you let them kind of just get into your zone and take that catch inside the 5. And it's like, I don't understand why you're not playing the defense that got you to this point, that only gave up 10 points all game, and then you're just going to let them get inside the 5, and that's deadly for almost any defense.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back to the Ryan Day statement, because it was not the post game interview like I thought we were gonna get, and I didn't see Lou Holtz's comments at the beginning of the day, but I thought it was absolutely comical. I did not have the Lou Holtz versus Ryan Day beef on my bingo card going into the season, but some of the social media reactions that I've seen out of it I've been laughing all weekend since. I think Pat McAfee did a pretty good improv of it on their show, and I to be honest, I didn't even know Lou Holtz was still alive.
I mean, he's up there. I mean, he doubled down against Ohio State afterwards and said, "Hey, you don't want to talk about Michigan 0-2." And I was like, "Damn." I mean, the guy hates Ohio State. I'm all for it. For Ryan Day to act the way he did, it's crazy to me.
It looked like he wanted to beat up an old man. There's that episode of SpongeBob where I can't remember which episode it was, and it's the angry fish telling he's like, "How many times do I gotta tell you, old man?"
Is that the one where they're trying to deliver the pizza to these guys a million times?
It's either that or the chocolate one. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's exactly what he reminded me of after the fact. I was like, well, and clearly it was on his mind all game long.
Oh yeah, it had to have been. Like,
dude was steaming mad.
That Lou Holtz comments came out day of the game, so for that to get to Ryan Day that fast, and for him to have that grudge against Lou Holtz the whole time, I think, I mean, seemingly he's got a lot of pressure to beat Michigan this year. I don't think that fan base can take losing to Michigan 3 years in a row. I think that they're going to fold on him very quickly, and he's got to figure out how to beat them. And hey, maybe this puts some fire on that team. But from what I saw this weekend, I'm not too scared of them. I don't think Penn State's going to be too scared of them either. They do get Penn State at home, so that's a little plus for them. But it's I think they're going to have trouble. I don't think McCord is up to speed yet on how their quarterbacks have been in the past, and that's going to play a big difference in getting Ohio State top 3, top 4 in college football. So I think they're going to have issues coming down the stretch against some of these better teams that they're going to have to play.
Yeah, I can't wait for, there's going to be another saga to this, especially if Ohio State does lose at some point. And I feel like, I swear to God, Lou Holtz has been out of the media for years, and all of a sudden, I think he was trending on Twitter on Saturday, which was just fantastic for college football.
Yeah, I mean, if somehow this crazy thing comes back, and it's college football, so whoever knows, but if Ohio State and Notre Dame play each other in a playoff game again, oh, you bet Lou Holtz is going to be saying some crazy stuff again.
Need him on the sideline after, too.
Yeah, he willingly will probably be there for that. Crazy. The guy was like slouching in a chair on game day and saying that thing, and Ryan Day took super offense to it.
Yeah, where's Lou Holtz now? Where's Lou Holtz? I was like, Jesus, man, chill out. He's just an old man. He could be a little senile at this point in time.
Yeah, it's like Lee Corso or Dickie V at this point.
Yeah, you just brush it off. You don't take it with a grain of salt. He took it
literally
way
say
too
whatever
serious.
they want.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that was the biggest story that came out of that game. What a huge blunder by Notre Dame too. I don't know how you just don't have all 11 guys on the field, and clearly the coaches didn't recognize it because you probably call a timeout in that instance.
Back-to-back plays too.
Yeah, bad look for Marcus Freeman. So, I agree with you too. I think Notre Dame's done. Like you said, especially since they don't have a conference championship to go to, I just don't see any path for them to get back in.
Yeah,
you need a lot of teams in front of you to lose, and lose badly.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, next game. We talked about that UCLA and Utah game. Quick note about this. Hand up. Completely jinxed Dante Moore. That one's on me. Started bragging about the from Detroit quarterback for UCLA. First pass of the game. Terrible throw, pick six, going the other way, and Utah ended up winning this game by a touchdown. So, hands up, that one was on me. I will take full blame for that game. But kind of just an ugly Pac-12 game, which you're not used to seeing. Usually, you're seeing a lot of points scored in those games.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I think Utah might be one of the most impressive teams this year. They're playing without their star quarterback, and they're 4-0, top 10 in the country, and so I'm pretty impressed on what this Utah team looks like. We'll talk about the slate coming up, but just I'll mention this game now because we probably won't mention it later. Utah is going to Oregon State, they're both ranked. So on a Friday night, so standalone game. I kind of like that the Pac-12 kind of does those things. Wish more leagues did some standalone, especially big matchups on Friday night. So I'm just very impressed on what Utah's looking like. They're definitely in contention for the Pac-12. I mean, that league, I think, from top to bottom is stacked.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I feel like Utah's always kind of that spicy team or under-the-radar team when it comes down to the season, and then they either lose one down the stretch and then upset whoever's leading the Pac-12 at the time to get into the playoffs. So it always comes down to that story, too, like that division is going to cannibalize itself. And clearly that's been the talk this year because of how many good teams are in that conference.
It's one of the hardest places to play. Play
Utah?
at Utah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to play at Utah. No,
absolutely not. I thought that game would be a lot more high scoring. It wasn't. 14-7, kind of a snoozer throughout, especially when 7 of the points were scored within the first couple minutes. So, or seconds.
Couple of seconds.
Yeah. All right. Other game that did live up to the hype, I would say probably most over the weekend was Washington State and Oregon State. Washington State won this one 38-35. I will say I'm guilty. I did not get a chance to watch this game, but it is the one I believe I did say as my upset pick for last week just because of the logo.
I don't even remember what I said for my upset pick. Notre Dame, probably.
Yeah, you had Notre Dame over Ohio State. You were close.
I'm calling it a win because Ohio State looked like dog shit. Yeah, I mean this game had tons of points in it.
Cam Ward was awesome from my understanding.
Cam Ward has looked unbelievable this year. I mean, he's definitely got to be in a Heisman talk at this point. I mean, you're 4-0. We'll see what they do down the stretch here. What's even crazier, it's Washington State that just got left out of all realignment talk. And I mean, I guess Oregon State did too, but Washington State's 4-0 and won this game. So it's a team that nobody wanted, and now I think they got a real shot to win the Pac-12 too. I mean, this league is crazy, and I think every team's going to have a loss. It's just going to be who do you lose to, that determines the championship game. But fun game. Definitely a fun game. I mean, there was a lot of points, especially in the first half. Oregon State and then came back in the fourth quarter. It just wasn't enough. DJU did not look great to start the game, and I think that's why Washington State also got out to that big lead. But props to them to get back into it, and I still think they're a decent team. They got a solid defense. I get they just got almost a 40-point burger on them, but it's Pac-12. The teams are going to score points. I mean, we've seen it in all the other games. Besides people playing at Utah, then people are going to score points in this league.
Yeah. A little bit of fluke at the Utah game. Cam, I think that was the only thing and we'll probably talk a bit more about it in our Heisman highlight later. We got a new way we're going to do that format as well too. But clearly, probably, I think you could comfortably say this was arguably one of the top 3 games of the weekend. Just don't know if it was the best because of how big the gap was, but at least, Oregon State made it competitive at the end. So, definitely fun. All right, let's jump over to another Pac-12 game that I know, Steady, you're probably going to have a lot to say, and that's clearly the Oregon and Colorado game. And this game was over, after the halfway through the second quarter. So, just a complete blowout from Oregon, and credit to you. You did say, and we talked about it on the show last week too when we previewed this. It was, without Travis Hunter, I don't even know how much of a difference Travis Hunter would have made in this game. Oregon was far superior than Colorado, and the craziest part about this whole game came after the fact when Oregon put out a game recap. And a good majority of it was just all the Colorado State players talking mad shit. Pre-game, they went onto their logo and scraped it up, much like Michigan State did to Michigan Michigan did to Michigan State a few years ago. Obviously, it was a little bit different situation of why that happened. Colorado did it just to do it. And
yeah, they did it before the game. It's weird to do it. Like some people do it before the game, but they were doing it like through walkthroughs, not while they were in pads and stuff. Like Michigan did it while they were in pads, like actually doing warm-ups on the field. Like,
Oregon, and there was a confrontation with, I think it was either Devin Bush or Sean Gary. I can't remember exactly who it was with, but
there was some beef between the teams at the time too. Yeah, like Lanning's pregame speech was awesome too. Like, we're doing it for wins, they're doing it for clicks. Yeah, I mean, that's all Colorado is right now. I've been trying to tell people Colorado's not good. They're going to lose a lot of games in the Pac-12. We just talked about Oregon State, Utah, UCLA, Washington State. They're all better teams than Colorado is, especially without Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter would not have made it any difference in this game. Sanders was chewed to pieces. That O-line is so bad for Colorado.
So bad.
It's unbelievable how bad that O-line is. And it's going to continue. I mean, Oregon's one of the better teams, especially defensively in the Pac-12. They do host USC this upcoming week. I expect another blowout, but I also expect them to probably be able to put up some points because USC's defense is not great. So I expect it to look like a little bit different, but I would still take USC to win by 3 touchdowns because there's just not that edge on that defensive team or that O-line to be able to win games against big-time schools.
Yeah, one thing I will say about this game too, and especially like you saw all the shit talking that Colorado did pregame, but even after the fact, I wouldn't. Colorado, they're not sore losers. I don't know if the media spins the Colorado story in such a way. I would argue that maybe they overhyped them more so than Deion and the players themselves. Like, look, as a player, you have to believe that you're the best player out there and that you can go out there and win games. I get that mentality from the players. Clearly, they got more shine because the media was so heavily focused on Colorado this year. But I mean, even after the game, like Deion came out and said, like, that was an ass kicking. That simple as that. It like we got beat. Didn't try to justify it. I think he did kind of combat what Lanning was saying about the comments about doing it for clicks. Deion, I don't think Deion is doing it for clicks. I generally do, based on a lot of the interviews and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff you do. Yes, he is that flashy primetime guy that we do know him to be. But I truly do believe that he cares about his players. He cares about his teams. And he's going to get them eventually to a point where they can go on and be professional athletes in the NFL. But they didn't make an excuse for why they lost. It was just, they said it was an ass kicking. Shedeur Sanders even tipped his hat to him, to a lot of the players, because it got misconstrued that, they were mocking him after the game, and they were actually doing that towards him, and he acknowledged it and said, they went out and kicked your ass. They're allowed to do it. So
yeah, I think they are. I mean, that I don't think Deion. Yeah, the media is a big part of it. The media hyped them up for zero reason. I've been saying it since they beat TCU that this team's not good. I mean, you give up 40 points to anybody, you're not a good team. At least in a scenario of where you're going to be a top 5 team or a contending team. And that's how the media hyped them up to be. Yeah, and I definitely think Oregon should be, hey, look at my watch. Like, hey, Sanders, if you're going to go around doing it in your games, when you're getting sacked 10 times a game, you're going to get it too, dude. I mean, when you look crappy, I mean, you're going to get all those things back at you, and you deserved it in this game. I mean, you got absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, and he said that. He acknowledged it. He said, like, that's part of the sports. That's part of the game, and that's and that's what's supposed to happen. So it's, I will say, like, it could be one of those situations where, there are people out there that are Deion haters and hate Colorado because he's there, but you got to give the credit where he's, like, in these losses, that he's not being a sore loser about it. He's not making excuses. Like he said, he's like, you better get us now, because he's like, down the road, like years from now, we're going to be better. This is going to be the worst we're going to be. So again, I tip my cap to him. I'm not going to sit there and shit all over him. They know they got their ass whooped, and they take it on the chin, as best as I've seen a lot of these programs do it, to be honest with you. And that's, over the years of watching Michigan and Michigan State go at each other's throats, seen a lot of excuses out of both fan bases, whether they win or lose. But with Colorado, what I've seen is they acknowledge, like, hey, we just got our ass kicked. It is what it is. We'll be better and try to move on. So
yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, Michigan and Michigan State usually aren't scoring 42-6 games.
Correct. Yes.
That doesn't happen very often. There really couldn't be any excuses in this game. I mean, start to finish, you guys had no chance of winning this game. I mean, Oregon barely played any starters in the fourth quarter. They did go for it on fourth down at one point with starters for like 4th and goal. I was all for it. Put it to them. I think it was time for people to shut up about Colorado. They're going to lose again this week. It won't be the last time they lose this year, and it's just going to be ugly for them here on out. It is what it is. People should maybe listen to me a little more often when college football is a little more predictable than people think. Teams just don't really come out of the woodwork, barely win games, and then find themselves in a playoff situation. We won't see Colorado ranked again, so hopefully they're not really in the limelight too often here anymore.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's any more games to really touch on from this past week. The Alabama game was close at first, and then Nick Saban does what he does to all his former coaches that were underneath him. And they won that game 24-10. Lane Kiffin did say he thought this was going to be the one year that we were primed to beat them, and it's just
the offense was a dud.
Yeah, it was not very good at all.
Clemson, Florida State, maybe worth mentioning a little bit too. Clemson season's now over. They don't have any shot of winning, at least seemingly so. They're not going to make the playoff for sure, even if they somehow end up winning the ACC. Highly doubt that happens now. There's 2 4-0 teams that have already beat you in the ACC. But, I mean, that was definitely an interesting game. Dabo, probably hot seat. Going to have to figure out how to do the transfer portal. I mean, at some point you're going to have to figure out how to get at least a guy or two in there that are starters and can contribute to your team, because Florida State did that and they just went into your house and beat you. I get it was overtime, but yeah, that's not a good look for Clemson already. 2-2, probably the last time we'll ever talk about them unless they make a run here. But they've lost to the best 2 teams they haven't even played Miami yet. So there's another team in the ACC that's up there too. So tough for them. Florida State still looks good. Probably got to figure out some defensive things, but that's what happens in some of these big games. You get scored on. Yeah,
and it's I just don't. I mean, someone's gonna have to boosters whoever it is, and he did say time when NIL happens, and he's like, I'll be done coaching. So maybe he does hang it up. Maybe he doesn't want to go down that, and he thinks doing enough recruiting and is more than enough. So that will be an interesting scenario to watch, because that team
new head coach of LA Chargers.
Yeah, that would be something. I mean, Dabo has yet to go to the pros, so that's kind of
maybe the time.
That's the last step. You just pull Nick Saban, go to the pros, get fired, and then come back to college and win a bunch more national titles.
And coach a rival. So where's he going to coach? Like North Carolina? No, North Carolina's got Mac Brown.
Duke could go to Duke.
That's just so boring.
Yeah. I don't know. It all depends where.
Where Clemson is at that time.
Yeah.
Well, seemingly the ACC is going to stay intact. So.
Yeah, for now, but he'll get at least maybe a 2-year stint in the NFL. I could tell you right now I'd dabble in the NFL, just would not work.
No, probably not. I think Dabo's done. I don't think he's going to be a national championship contending team, at least anytime soon, until he figures out how to do a portal, and it doesn't seem like he cares at all to do so.
Yep. So, yeah, that'll be fun to watch. But I don't think there's any other games from that week to talk about. Do want to look at maybe 1 or 2 games of the upcoming schedule. Starting to see a lot more teams on this bye this coming week. So I would say probably the one game I have my eye on, and hopefully I don't take yours here, Steady, is actually the Michigan and Nebraska game. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is Michigan's first road game of the year.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it's always important, regardless of the opponent that you're going to play. If you're a highly ranked team, how you play on the road does matter. I don't care. Like I said, I don't care who it is. So that will probably be the one that I'm most interested in this week. And they're playing for the Bussin' Trophy. So for people that don't know, the Bussin' with the Boys podcast through Barstool. So it's Taylor Lewan and Will Compton. Taylor Lewan went to Michigan. Will Compton went to Nebraska. They've got a trophy that they're handing out to the winning team and starting their own little tradition there between these two teams playing. So might be one of the most underrated things about college football, in my opinion, that we talk about it enough with the Paul Bunyan Trophy, but the more trophies between division opponents is something that I actually live for on Saturdays. One of my favorite matchups of the year was always Michigan and Minnesota playing for the Little Brown Jug. I don't know why. It just has a little extra pizzazz or cherry on top that makes these matchups even more meaningful.
Yeah, it's definitely going away a little bit. I don't know why. Probably just because all this realignment stuff is also going to play a factor into these. You're not going to see these matchups every year. Because you used to just play all these teams every single year, and that's not the case anymore. Yeah, I don't care too much about it. You guys can have your trophy. I'm trying to win the one at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Everything else, I don't care. I'm actually wearing their hat. Uh, yeah, Nebraska. I'm not too worried about this game. I think they run over Nebraska. I find it interesting that the over/under is only 39.
39, yeah.
To be fair, Michigan hasn't really scored a whole lot of points. They've pretty much just kind of controlled the ball. Outside the one Bowling Green game where JJ didn't look that great, but they're probably just going to pound the rock and just wear Nebraska out. They're just a better team. I'm not too worried about Michigan being on an upset alert, but my game, I don't really know what the best game is this week. I guess the most intriguing maybe is worth mentioning is Kansas at Texas. Both teams are 4-0. Kansas is ranked now too. Not picking an upset here. Texas is 16.5 favorites. Just interesting to see if Kansas can do anything in the Big 12 here. I mean, it's the last year that Texas and Oklahoma are in the Big 12. Can Kansas be the one to sneak out a championship in their last year? Would just be pretty cool to see somebody other than them win it. I mean, the last 2 years, neither of those teams have played in the Big 12 championship, so it would be interesting that they'd leave the Big 12 thinking, oh, we're just beating up on these teams. We need a better conference to be in. And then the last 3 years that you were in it, neither of you even played for a championship. So would be interesting to do. That's a game I think is worth mentioning. And then won't talk about these games, but Georgia goes on the road to Auburn. LSU plays at Ole Miss. Duke and Notre Dame have game day. First time game day's ever been at Duke. That's really all I'm super interested in this week. The rest of the slate's not that great.
Yeah, and it makes it tough too. Like you do have that, you have that Notre Dame and Duke matchup, but it's all what it comes down to is, all right, can Duke keep their title hopes alive? Because if they lose to Notre Dame, essentially their season's over. So
unless they can win the ACC.
That's true, but
that'll be the only loss, and that seemingly so they'll end up having to beat Florida State or Miami to do so.
Yeah, which could be enough to get them in, but I don't know. It's like that's why I think all these matchups will be so much more fun once you have the 12-team playoff, because you've got LSU and Ole Miss. Yeah, they're in the SEC. There's a chance they could win the SEC title still. There's a lot of dominoes that need to fall. But I mean, they're one-loss teams already, and to me, it's just not as an intriguing matchup of like you said, that 4-0 matchup that you get with Kansas and Texas. So, I mean,
also we don't know when a 12-team playoff's coming anymore. The committee seemingly has stopped talks on it right now because of realignment, which is dumb. I don't understand why that has any factor. I think they're just trying to figure out how many guaranteed spots are in it for conference winners. But still, that's ridiculous that they're going to do that now. So I guess we'll see. Hopefully it's sooner than later. I was really looking forward to that. I think it makes college football a lot more fun in December. Instead of watching bowl games that mean absolutely nothing and no one plays in them anymore, we have playoff games almost every weekend. So, yeah, that sucks. I think that's bad for college football. They should have figured that out and should not have been tabled, in my opinion. But I think that's worth noting.
Yeah, no, hopefully at the end of the season we have some type of discussion, because we're not going to have the answer on the Pac-12 until after the season as well too. So,
they did say so there is going to be a 12-team playoff next year, but they don't know how it's going to be played.
Yeah, so their thought was, the five major conference winners, the Power 5 conference winners, and then the 7 highest ranked teams after that would make up the 12 teams essentially. But they don't know exactly if the Pac-12 goes away, then you don't have 5 power conferences anymore. So how do they do it? So I think I believe the 12-team playoffs coming. It's just the structure of what the automatic bids are to get you in, and how they acknowledge what other teams get into the playoffs from there. So
the Pac-12 is done. I mean, that's not a question at this point. It's not going to look the same. Like, yeah, there could be a Pac-12 that looks like a Mountain West or something like that, but so they're still going to consider that a power conference? That doesn't make any sense to me. Unless they know stuff that we don't know, that some of these teams that either went to the Big 12 or the Big 10, or I guess the ACC, are going to come back and not go through with what their realignment is. I just don't understand what they're going to end up doing. Because it was the Power 5 and then the highest non-Power 5 conference winner automatically in, and then 6 at-large teams. And now seemingly they're thinking of doing 5 because it would be a Power 4, and then the 5th non-Power 4 best team, and then 7 at-larges, which I don't understand why that matters at all. Just pick something and go on the fly every year. Like, as long as you say what's going to happen before games start in August, I don't think anyone could be upset with you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I think as long as the fans know that it's coming, I think they could care less about, you can figure out down the line of how you're going to determine how those teams get in. So
yeah, and I don't understand why it has to be set in stone for 7 years in advance. Like, why do you have to sign who are you signing a contract with to guarantee that this is how it's going to be played? Like, as long as you say there's 12 teams in it, you can figure out how those 12 teams get in it at any point. You can change it year to year. It really does not matter. As long as you know the number of teams and where games are going to be played at, that's all you need to know.
Yep. I could not agree.
The NCAA is so bad. It's so bad. It's managed by morons.
Yeah. That make a lot of money. Probably not as much money on NILs around, or maybe, they could be making more now.
I actually watched what they call, I think it's called National Championship. It's a terrible movie. But it just came out on Netflix, and it's been out for a few years, but it was just released on Netflix. And so don't watch it, but I'll tell you real quickly. It's about a national championship game, and the star quarterback for the game, potential number 1 pick, decides to sit out to try to get the players paid. So it was kind of playing into the fact of all this NIL stuff, but the acting was so bad it was just not worth watching. But it was just interesting on some of the factoids that they threw in there about how all these guys and the coaches were making so much money, NCAA included, and we're gonna play without you, guy. They don't care. So why are they caring what teams are gonna be played? They don't care. As long as there's a 12-team playoff, it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Just guarantee us that, and we'll be happy fans moving forward. So
yeah.
All right. Let's get to our Heisman highlight segment. So I decided I wanted to switch this up. I thought the way that we were probably delivering it the last couple weeks was a little bit boring. So Steady, being the big college football fan that he is, what we're going to do each week now is I'm going to list off 3 player stats. He doesn't know who the players are. All I'm going to do is list off the stats, and we might do it weekly, where we do QBs one week, running backs next week, and wide receivers, and keep rotating that. And then once we get to the end of the season, we'll do maybe a full breakdown of all the players and who we expect to be the Heisman winner, just based on stats. So all right, Steady, we're gonna do QBs to kick this off we're going into week 5 now, so we're through 4 weeks of college football. I'm gonna read you off 3 different player stats, and then you have to guess or pick at this moment in time who would be your Heisman winner, just based on 4 weeks of football. So are you ready?
Yep.
All right, first person I have for you. So they have a completion percentage of 79.4%. They've thrown for 1,170 yards this year, and they have 11 touchdowns.
You gonna give me team records too?
No.
Okay.
No team records. I feel like I'd give way too much away.
Okay.
And then 1 interception. So you got to try to keep all these numbers in your head.
Okay, yeah. We can say that one more time then. Let's do that again.
Okay, so the first player that you have is they have a completion percentage of 79.4%. They've thrown for 1,169 yards. They have 11 touchdowns on the year and 1 interception.
Rushing stats or no?
No rushing stats. I don't have that in front of me. Just passing this week.
Okay.
All right, second person. We've got where'd they go? All All right, so they have a completion percentage of 72.6%. They've thrown for 1,300 yards. They've got 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Okay.
And then the last person that we have is, where did he go? Give me 1 second here. He's got a 74.3% completion percentage, thrown for 1,200 yards, and he has 15 touchdowns on the season with no interceptions.
I assume you're picking guys that can potentially win this award, so they're Power 5 schools.
Correct. Yes, they will be
Okay.
essentially all Power 5.
Yeah, I just wanted to make
quarterbacks
sure
in-
that was at least a standard you had on there then.
Correct. Yep.
I mean, I assume these teams are undefeated too because of, 3 interceptions combined between all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good stats for, I think, all of these guys. I'm going to say the last one you said is Cam Ward.
Nope.
I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, you're correct.
I'm not
You're
even going
wrong
to
on
guess these players then.
All right, just pick the one that you
It's
would
the last
pick.
one.
All right, so the last one that would be Caleb Williams is your front runner for the Heisman right now, and the other 2 players that I gave you. So
Give me hints. Give me hints. Is there any way I can try to get who these guys are?
All right, the one that had the 72.6% completion percentage, he is in the SEC.
12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Really? In the SEC?
And I did give you a faulty stat. They are not all undefeated.
Yeah, I'm guessing this guy's not. Is this Jackson Dart?
Nope. This one is Jaden Daniels.
Okay. That was who. It was one of those 2 I figured. I don't think there's another quarterback in the SEC that has a chance of winning a Heisman.
Yeah, I thought this stat was crazy. The almost 80% completion percentage.
Yeah, that's high.
That's extremely high. I was like, damn, that's. I thought maybe that stat alone could persuade you a little bit, but was curious to see if you could guess who that one was. Pac-12, which, as we've talked about, there's a lot of good QBs in the Pac-12. So I don't know if that actually does help you.
Is that Bo Nix?
That is Bo Nix. Yep, you got it.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough to say what teams. I mean, it's going to come down to who beats who, Caleb Williams or Bo Nix. There, I mean, that's gonna definitely matter.
Well, and the crazy part about this whole thing, so I've got the way I have the stats up in front of me is I've got them organized based on yardage. So clearly, if you're just looking at certain stats, like Michael Penix Jr. is far in front of.
Are those the top
QBs.
3 guys yardage?
No, it's not.
Yeah, because
There
Michael
is-
Penix has way more yards than these guys, right?
Correct. Yeah, Michael Penix leads the country by almost like 230 more yards. But the big one in here was like Bo Nix is 17th in the country in yards. So there's 16 other quarterbacks, which is, I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, some of them are smaller tier schools, but I thought that was wild how close that all these numbers are actually to each other.
Yeah, you'll start seeing some more separation, especially in the Power 5 teams, because of the competition is definitely increasing for a lot of these schools. I mean, most of these schools have had a minimum of 2 games, probably 3 against non-conference opponents. So, yeah, I do think it's close. I mean, I definitely think Jaden Daniels, regardless of knowing who that was, is the third out of those 3 that you gave me just based off stats.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I thought it was. I thought
80% high.
80% is like, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
That just goes to show how bad Colorado was this past week too. That his number is still that high.
Yep. Yeah, insane completion percentage. I will 100% be watching that number the rest of the year and see how high he's able to keep that. I'll actually, maybe I'll look up for next week. Try to remind me too. I'll look up to see what like the season record of like completion percentages in college football. I assume it's probably something stupid, but
It's probably
yeah,
real
college
high.
football stats can get stupid, which is great. All right, let's move on from there and talk some NFL football. So before we do the prime time preview, maybe just briefly touch on Monday Night Football. The Eagles and Bucks game was not very competitive. The Eagles offensive, the Eagles offensive line is just nasty, which can bring us to a topic is, and I think we're both going to agree here, is should the tush push be eliminated from NFL football?
Yeah, 100%. It's first off, when guys get into a pile in just a regular game, most times, especially in the NFL, the whistle's blown pretty quickly. The fact that they have offensive linemen just diving at the legs of defensive linemen and then getting pushed by the backs, I think that's not legal. You should have to, and I'm fine with the offensive lineman standpoint if they want to keep that. Like, hey, you just a sneak short yardage situation, you get Jalen Hurts back there and you just have him dive on top of your O lineman in a QB sneak manner. That seems normal to me. The fact it's anytime that somebody's pushing on the back of him, I think that should be illegal. I don't think you should be able to just bull rush three guys up the middle at the defense. It makes it impossible to stop. I don't think defenses can stop that. Not legally, at least. I don't think there's a way for them to do that. Not how the NFL is structured right now. There's no way. People point out, oh, just do Troy Polamalu. Like, that makes zero sense. That's not going to happen. It's not the way they're so low that they're undercutting the defensive line that Polamalu is not even going to have the chance to, or a guy like that is not going to have the chance to jump over that line to get to the quarterback to stop that. And the fact that they would have to time up a jump to do that, often the teams attempting to do it would just end up getting him to go off sides.
Yeah,
that's
I think
all they would do.
The tough part from it too is Jalen Hurts is a monster of a quarterback, and the big thing is like he does squat 600 pounds, but you're also lining back like Dallas Goedert in that backfield, and he's typically one of the guys that's pushing on him. So, yeah, I mean, I still think the QB sneak for the Eagles would be extremely
agreed.
Effective just because, again, of that offensive line and Jalen Hurts. Look, I mean, we saw Tom Brady for years and years be really good at a QB sneak. I just think it maybe takes a little bit away of the predictability because, as soon as the Eagles get in that 1 yard and goal to go or 2nd and 1, that's what they're going to line up and do. And this is going to be an ongoing thing that we see the rest of the year. The NFL already said they're not going to talk about it until after the season and get with the Players Association. So this will be around to stay. And I know a lot of people it's not exciting football. To me, it reminds me of rugby is the closest thing that I've seen to this. So it'll be a story to watch, but yeah, it's not a fun brand of football, but at the end of the day, it's something that's effective and it's part of the rules right now. And the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts said the same thing. He's like, look, as long as it's legal, we're going to continue to do it. And he never really disagreed saying it should be outlawed. It's, hey, we're playing within the rules right now. And that's what we're able to do. So
yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just don't think someone could put a hand on his back to do that. Because that's going down a slippery slope then, because there can be a lot of plays if that play's illegal. Why teams are going to end up adapting plays and stuff where they're just handing the ball off or short little catches and they're having another guy right behind him and immediately we're just pushing people like we're having a whole team just push the guy down the field. At some point that can't be legal, and because the refs already stop plays like that pretty quickly. They don't let a pile just go on and on and on. They stop it for a dead ball. So that's my problem with it, and that's why I think it's not a real football play. I'm fine with it, and I agree that I think the Eagles are probably going to still be just as successful with him doing short yardage stuff. If it's just Jalen Hurts. I mean, a lot of the times they don't have someone put a hand on his back, but a lot of times they do. And that's my problem with it, is when you get a hand on a back and pushing forward.
Yeah, and then smothering it too, right? It comes down to like, all right, well, are these refs accurately spotting where the ball is actually at?
Yeah,
and,
that's the problem too.
Like the one angle they showed didn't look like he got it, and they gave him the first down anyways. And there's no way to go back and review it because you can't see where the ball's at, so you have to stick with the call that's on the field.
I still can't believe there's not technology that is in the ball and on the yardsticks on the sideline to tell where the ball stopped. Like, that's in soccer, that's in other sports. How has football not adapted a little chip that can be in there? There's technology out there that could be effective. Test some things out, throw it in college games or do it in something else first. But there's technology out there that should be able to tell where the ball is at on the field when a whistle is blown. It shouldn't be that difficult.
No, I agree. And that's like, kind of goes back to baseball. It's like you could do the automatic strike zone, but then you get rid of the human factor in the sport, which...
Well, and I'm not saying I'm just talking about for spots of
No,
balls. Because
I agree.
I think spots of balls are not accurate a lot of the time. I think even just on normal plays, I think the refs are up to judge where the ball stopped on every play. So you could get it super accurate every time. I mean, it would be interesting to see if anybody's done this because, I've seen umpire report cards because the strike zone's an easy thing to do that data for. But how accurate refs are on spot, like the line judges on spotting where a guy is down at, compared to so does one team get an extra 10 yards a game because that's just how he ended up spotting the balls those games? I'd be very interested to see those stats, and some nerd out there probably is looking into that. It'd be very difficult to do, I think, because you would have to slow down every play to figure out exactly where that was. But a chip would make this so easy. You just get a couple guys that are working the computers for that chip, and it shouldn't be that difficult. I would be very interested in seeing that. Hopefully soon. I think it could be coming to the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. That's probably a different conversation for a different day. But I mean, it was Tampa Bay couldn't do much against Philly's defense. Jalen Hurts did have 2 interceptions in this game. I don't know if there's really too much to dwell on. It was kind of just clearly one
sucked.
Yeah. It was clearly one team was better than the other, and the Eagles were definitely better. Not saying that the Tampa Bay can't still easily win the NFC South, but the Eagles are a team that's expected to be playing for a Super Bowl this year.
Probably the best game they've looked all year.
The Eagles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even with Jalen Hurts' 2 interceptions, but again, that offensive line...
He still threw the ball better, I thought, than any of the first 2 games.
Yeah, I agree. And DeAndre Swift just has gaping holes to run through. So, I mean, it's... And the funny part is all these quote-unquote fantasy gurus and experts coming out and saying oh my God, I can't believe the Detroit Lions traded him for a bag of chips. All right, clearly you didn't watch enough Lions football when he was on the team. He was either playing limited or he's out for a good majority of the games. I saw stat nerds out there saying, well, he only missed 10 games while he was with the Lions. Yeah, but for 2 of those seasons, he was playing on a limited snap count because of injuries, and we never got to see the full potential. We knew DeAndre Swift was capable of this. He showed those flashes of being able to break off huge runs. This is not taken away from him by any means, because what he's doing this year is fantastic. But you see some of the holes that he's running through this year. Clearly, Miles Sanders had a big year last year because Kenneth Gainwell has been very successful with with the Eagles. Boston Scott has been successful. This offensive line is very good. As long as DeAndre Swift stays healthy, I'm going to root for him to do well. And because this is always the guy we thought we could get in Detroit, it just didn't work out here. I'm glad he was able to go back to his hometown in Philly and do this for them. But I think both teams are kind of where they need to be. I don't think Brad Holmes was ever going to extend DeAndre Swift, regardless of the season that he had this year, just because of his availability the last few years, if that makes sense. So you
don't pay running backs anyways, so get
correct.
something for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and you didn't get much for him, but there. I hate the argument. People's like, oh, the Lions are looking like idiots. No, we're not. We're in perfect shape. We've got Montgomery and Gibbs, which is a good 1-2 combo to go with that. So it's one of those trades that I think we're honestly going to be able to look back and say both teams won that trade. So that was really the only other thing I wanted to say about this game. The Bengals and Rams game was hideous, you could say. It was I know.
Neither team looked
I just
good.
I just don't
Offensively.
think. Correct. Yeah, Matthew Stafford had a tough night with 2 interceptions. I know one of those were tipped, but he got lit up for 6 sacks. Trey Hendrickson was just. There were some hits that Stafford took in that game. I was like, he is not going to get back up from it. And again, this is a guy that has some concerns about back problems, and I can't imagine he felt very good on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, this safety Dax Hill also had some big sacks too. I think he had multiple. Yeah, that was definitely the story of the game, was getting after Stafford, and that changed it because the Rams offense couldn't get going like they had the first 2 weeks. And Joe Burrow's injury is going to hurt them.
He looked, and that was going to be my other part, is he looked, you could tell, physically could tell that he was struggling throughout this game, and it's not something that I think is going to heal quickly anytime. This is what you saw on Monday night, I think, is what you're going to get out of Joe Burrow, which a lot of these teams, they're just going to just blitz him constantly and try to get him moving because he can't move very well right now. Which, yeah, it's going to be concerning. It's good since he finally got on the win column. But, yeah, I think this offense is going to struggle quite a bit because he's not as mobile as we're used to seeing, and he can't get around in the pocket as effectively as we've seen in years past. And a lot of it was just dinks and dunks down the field, which, look, you got the win. That's huge, which is, it's just crazy to me to think that you see a guy playing like Joe Burrow's playing on one leg essentially, and he's still better than, whoever they have backing up. And that is the skill gap between the starters in the NFL and backup QBs, which every time it happens, that's the one thing I was watching throughout the entire game is like, there's only, what? Realistically, you could say that there's 20 true starters in the NFL, and maybe 10 others are, they're getting their test of what they're going to be. So it goes back to, the quarterback is the toughest position to play in any sport because out of everybody in the world, there's truly only 20 good starters, and how many of those guys can be a true starter over the course of 10 years?
Yeah, it's not very many. At some point, Joe Burrow, I feel like you just got to take a week off. I get they were 0-2. This was a do-or-die game. I wonder what would have happened if they lost this game, if they considered sitting him and, hey, like, we're in an 0-3 situation. But, he's going to have to play right now. They're still in the hunt there.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. I think teams are going to rush the crap out of him going forward. I just don't. Hopefully that O-line stays healthy because they're going to earn every penny that they have this year trying to keep him protected because anything coming at him is a dangerous sight because at some point that leg's just going to – that last little bit he's got is going to give out, and it's going to be unfortunate. But I'm shocked that he played in this game.
Yeah, and we can sit there and say the Monday night curse is broken. No major injuries, so
yeah, I don't think so.
Everyone completely avoided it. So good news. We don't like injuries. We're not rooting for injuries. There was a trend that we noticed, and now it has been snapped. All right, so let's get to our primetime preview for week 4 here. So we're going to go Thursday night game. We are not counting the London game. I will be up watching that game, but I don't think a lot of people get up, so I'm not counting it as a primetime game. Then we'll talk about the Chiefs and Jets on Sunday night, which, there's not going to be a lot said about that either. And then you got Seahawks Giants on Monday night. So those will be the 3 games we talk about. We'll pick maybe 1 or 2 more games after that and go over those fairly quickly. But let's start this primetime preview with the Thursday night game. Detroit Lions going to Lambeau. Very important game here in the NFC North. Going to learn a lot about both teams, like I've said in the past. True test for Jordan Love. I don't know if he's technically played a playoff caliber team just yet. Detroit Lions should be that first one based on expectations going into the season. And the Lions are going on the road to Lambeau. So already got a big road win this year in Kansas City. If you can, start the season 3-1, and the 2 games that you won were at Lambeau and at Kansas City Chiefs, I think the bar gets raised even higher for the Lions team moving forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah, this is. I think this is the biggest game they've played so far. You can whatever you want to say about the Chiefs game, but I mean, this is most important. Biggest things I'll say off the bat: David Bakatari is still not playing. He's been ruled out already. The rest of Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, David Montgomery, and including Taylor Decker, all still questionable as we're recording Wednesday night. Could change. That's the latest outlook we have on those. I expect all those guys to play at this point. Taylor Decker probably the least likely out of the four to play, but I still expect him to play. So good news for both teams. Pretty much full strength offensively there for those teams. And I think this is going to be a good test for the Lions defense. Hopefully they can continue to do what they've been doing and especially stop Jordan Love down the field. I mean, he's been pretty effective throwing deep, especially to Romeo Doubs. And then now seemingly Christian Watson's going to make a season debut too. That just gives them another weapon outside of Jalen Reed, and I can't even remember who else they're actually playing out there. One fun thing is I've been doing lots of fantasy. I love fantasy football, so I do a lot of random stuff. Lions against fantasy tight ends is the worst in the league. So if you're a fantasy person, you better be starting Luke Musgrave. Don't see any reason why he wouldn't have a decent game here. I think the Lions take care of this game. I think they're the better team, especially if Montgomery plays. You have that bruiser that's going to be able to run the ball up the middle, and I think that makes a world difference on this offense. And then as they continue to figure out the best way to use Gibbs, get creative, like we said on our last episode, and just get him in space. That's the way you're going to win games with him. He's going to be able to make people miss and use his speed to his advantage, and that's how the Lions' offense is going to be most effective. It's not going to be him carrying the ball for 15 times a game. It's going to be him maybe getting 15 touches between rushes and receptions, but get him out in space, let Montgomery run up the middle. I still think he's the better back. And
I think I
think
believe
that's huge.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen out of Sam Laporta as well too. I mean, you've talked about it as well too. Like, he leads the NFL in reception yards for tight ends across the league. So
Green Bay is also not very good against tight ends fantasy wise too.
Yeah, and Sam Laporta has looked again. He doesn't look like a rookie out there. In the run game and in the passing game too. So it's good the Lions getting a little bit healthy. Taylor Decker still not completely healthy, but that means Penei Sewell moves back to the right side of the line, which he looks better over there. He had a couple holding penalties last game against the Falcons, so get him back to his natural spot, and this offensive line will be pretty solid. So, I do think the Lions should be they're only, I think, 1.5 favorite on the road. But I truly believe I don't think this offense for Green Bay is any better than what you just faced against Atlanta. Desmond Ridder
it's better.
I mean, but you've got to beat up Christian Watson and beat up Aaron Jones too. So and Bijan was looking phenomenal through week one, and you got Kyle Pitts down there as well too.
The quarterback's drastically different though. Jordan Love will be a starter for a while. Desmond Ridder is a 1-year thing.
I'm still not on the Jordan Love
I disagree.
Bandwagon. I just don't know if he's faced a good enough team yet that's really going to put the pressure to him. I think Aiden Hutchinson leads the league in QB pressures, and Jordan Love hasn't faced anything like that yet. So I expect a huge game out of Hutch yet again. I know he was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, so hopefully that, last week snowballed him to lead to a big season, what we were expecting. So I honestly get on the road, but I look for another dominating performance for the Lions. I think, they've got a couple games under their belts now, and we've seen just got to knock the rust off. And I think this offense is poised to score a lot of points.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be a dominating. I mean, the Lions have only dominated the Falcons so far this year. I think Green Bay's better than what you're giving them credit for. I think Jordan Love's better than what you're giving him credit for. Hopefully the Lions aren't thinking this way because that's bad news. There's I think a drastic difference between Desmond Ridder and Jordan Love. I think the Lions still win this game. I think they're the better team, but I'm interested to see what they look like with more full strength with Aaron Jones back there. Clearly, A.J. Dillon's not better than Aaron Jones, and with Christian Watson back on the field, probably could have played last week, just didn't. And so I don't think he's that injured at this point, and so I expect the Packers to be able to move the ball. I don't think it's going to be as dominating as you think it's going to be. I think the Lions sneak away with a 4-point win.
Okay. All right. I mean, I think this is a 2-score game and even a double-digit win. I've got the Lions I think this can be a 31-17 win for the Lions on the road in Lambeau. I think we're going to see a good influx of Lions fans there again, like we saw at the Monday night game or Sunday night game last year. And I think this is hopefully the start of this offense kind of getting back on a roll. We haven't seen it yet so far this year. Amon-Ra looked great last week, even with a banged up toe. Hopefully, I know it's a short week, but hopefully Josh Reynolds gets a little bit of got some love to. I think he's got an ailing ankle or hamstring or something like that. So I've got a good feeling about this game, which you could fade me. That could be bad for the Lions moving forward. But yeah, I like the Lions a lot on Thursday night.
21-17 Lions win. I do think they win. I don't think it's going to be as dominating as you're making it seem like it's going to be. I think Green Bay is still the NFC standard until you continuously dethrone them from winning the division. They got to be the standard. So hopefully the Lions aren't thinking the way you're thinking. Hopefully they actually take them seriously because I think they're a good team.
All right. Well, we shall see. Hopefully I'll be the one that I told you so on Tuesday's show. All right. Next game we've got not much to say here. Chiefs at Jets, Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately, I don't know why the NFL has not implemented a flex rule yet for this league because there's several other games that would have been better than this one. The storyline that I think to watch in this one, and it's not even going to be, Chiefs are going to beat the shit out of them. I'm not concerned about that. Is will Zach Wilson get benched in this game? There's a lot of unrest among the defense for the Jets about Robert Saleh sticking with Zach Wilson. I do agree with some of the rumors are coming out of there that if it was any other quarterback, Zach Wilson would not be playing. So that's going to be. Yeah, well, and they just signed Trevor Siemian as well to the roster.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to be ready to play. But
I don't think so either. But this is someone can smack me and say I'm wrong. Zach Wilson, I still think is better than Tim Boyle, and that's probably why they have stuck with him.
Probably true.
We saw Tim Boyle here in Detroit. He's not good, and the fact, and we've read his stats off before on previous shows, like different podcasts. The fact that this guy's a quarterback in the NFL, backup quarterback, when you got guys like Cam Newton out there and I'd even say Colin Kaepernick. It is unbelievable that Tim Boyle is on an NFL roster. No disrespect. I'll say that with all due respect. But bad QB situation there in New York. So yeah, this is going to be an ass whipping by the Chiefs this week, much like what we saw against the Bears last week.
Yeah. I agree. I really have nothing to add. I mean, it'd be shocking to see anything other than a 3-score game.
Yeah, agreed. So the over-under is 42.5. You might want to bet the over just because I think the Chiefs.
I'm surprised that the Chiefs are only minus 9.5.
Yeah, that's shocking. I would hammer that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think at least 12 there.
Yeah, because all it's going to take is 1 or 2 Zach Wilson interceptions, and the defense is going to get so deflated, and they're just not going to give a shit anymore.
No, yeah. Why would you?
Yeah. All right, Monday Night Football. Seahawks at Giants. Has potential. I'm not saying this is a great Monday Night Football. I am, however, going to say I am excited to get back to one Monday Night Football game. Yeah. I like only having to focus on one game on Sunday nights. People are like, well, you get 2, you can do Red Zone on Sundays. Again, you have to mentally prepare yourself for that to happen. We don't get enough dueling Monday night games to get used to that. Just give me my one Monday night game, and I am completely okay with that.
No, I agree. I think this is going to be a good game. I mean, the Seahawks defense is terrible. This is going to be the Daniel Jones game. I think the Giants win this game. Seahawks going out east. I think the over is 47.5. I think that's way too low for these two teams. The Seahawks can't stop anybody, and they know how to score points too. So I think that both teams are in the 20s here, pushing that over under pretty close to the line, if not over. And I think this is the Daniel Jones get right game, and then the Giants fans maybe come back to life a little bit after the 1-2 start, and they're 2-2, and things can happen. So, I find this game very interesting. I think this is one of the better games of the week. Nice to have that on a Monday night, and so I'm very intrigued to see what Seattle does offensively. If they can continue to roll, like you've said, they look to be superb. I just don't think that defense is very good. So I think Daniel Jones has a massive game.
Yeah, and I think this is sidebar. I like that. I do think it's going to be a close game. I think it's actually going to be a very good game as well, too. Here's a fun little nugget. So the Sunday night game is being played at MetLife Stadium, and the Monday night is being played at MetLife Stadium. I would not want to be a worker inside that stadium, but two, that I would assume that's got to be. I wonder if that's the first time ever that something like this has happened for a single stadium.
I would say no, because it just happened literally week 1 of the NFL season. Sunday Night Football was the Giants and Cowboys, and then Monday Night Football was the Bills and Jets. And Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. That
literally just happened 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
I assume it's probably happened before that too.
That shows you exactly where my brain is at. Yeah, that did.
It just happened in week 1.
Yeah, I just went back and looked at week 1. That is confirmed. That did happen. So, shout out to my dumb brain. It was only a matter of time before.
At least I was on top of it, so we both didn't look like idiots there.
Yep, definitely. That feels like it was an entire season ago because Aaron Rodgers was the starting quarterback. So. Yeah, what a string of events for the MetLife Stadium. Just
I think it actually happens quite a bit that these teams both play at home on the same week. I don't know that it happens very often that they're both the primetime games.
Well, it would have to be one game would have to be a primetime game, right? That's what I'm saying. But right,
that's
what they should do is have 2 1:00 games going on at the same time, and the 4 teams just have to avoid each other.
That would be interesting. I mean, it might as well. The Jets are so bad.
Yeah, they'll stay on one side of the field anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for correcting me, Steady. And I was bound to have a dumb moment here eventually, and here we are.
That was a good one. It literally just happened.
I forgot all about it. I wiped the Dallas and Giants game away from my brain because it was a 40-0 game. I turned it off after the second quarter.
Yeah, so did I.
Doesn't even count. Yeah, no, I do think I still think the Seahawks are going to put up a ton of points, and I don't know if Daniel Jones hasn't proved it yet to me that he can hang it in a shootout or something like that. So I've got Seahawks, I got Seahawks 37, Giants. I'll go Giants 30. Touchdown game. Could be OT. Higher. That'd be sweet if it was OT.
You're going higher than I am. I'm going to go Giants 30, Seahawks 27.
Okay. Both of those are the over, too, by the way.
I like the over in this game.
I do, too.
It's a pick 'em. I would just avoid it. When you're in a pick 'em situation, it's not worth betting, I feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. So, all right, those are our primetime games for this week. Steady, I will come to you. Actually, no, I'm going to tell you the game that I think there's 2 games here All right, so clearly the number one game, I think, at 1:00 on Sunday is going to be the Dolphins at the Bills. Potential AFC. Well, no, I can't. This can't be an AFC championship Well,
Yeah, it can.
it could. It'd have to work out a certain way, but I was just thinking because they're in the same division, but
One
one
would
of these
just be a
teams wild card and then beat the 2 seed essentially.
Yeah.
But doesn't the NFL reseed after
I don't think so. The one seed, or they might. I don't
think they
remember how do it,
I'm
but
pretty they do reseed. They 100% do reseed after
well,
from week
they
to
wouldn't
week.
play each other in the first round because the one seed, assuming that the Dolphins or Bills get the one seed. If one of them gets a one seed, the one seed has a bye now.
Correct, yeah. Which because this division is so tight, maybe there's someone out like the Chiefs could get the one seed and then two
Yeah,
like
they could.
yeah, it would be. I mean, there's a chance. I'm sure there's some mathematical way, but yeah, no, this is probably you could argue this is one of the most anticipated matchups of the entire season based on these teams' expectations going into the year, and especially now with how well the Dolphins look too. I think it makes it an even better matchup. So by far the best game throughout the entire weekend.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I think so too. Miami playing in Buffalo early in the year is good for them too. I mean, they're not going to deal with the weather. It's just like the Lions playing at Green Bay. Gotta love when you play a division rival away early in the year that plays outside in a cold environment. So,
Yep.
Good for them. I don't think you can go against the Dolphins right now. I mean, that offense is just unreal. I don't think you can bet against them.
Yeah, there was a highlight from the Broncos game, and it was Tyreek saying, "Hey, can we do that? Can we do that one touchdown celebration that we practiced all together after we score here?" I was just like, all right, these guys are playing on a totally different planet right now.
Yeah,
I get they're already up big against the Broncos, but yeah, the confidence level from the Dolphins right now is insane. I don't know if anybody can stop that offense. And then two, the concern, Josh Allen has looked fantastic the last 2 weeks, but the concern here is he going to have one of those games where he has a couple turnovers, which history tells us there's a chance that could happen. So, I know he only has one interception over his last 2 weeks, but, this Miami defense is much better than the two teams that he just played recently.
Yeah, it's by far the best game. I mean, both offenses are kind of rolling right now. I mean, even this over-under looks low at 54, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun game. It may be worth having that on a second screen to Red Zone. Watch that separately. This could be one of those like games of the year situations where you have two juggernauts playing. I get we had like the Chargers and Vikings last week where you expect high scoring too, but this interdivision means a whole lot for that division. I mean, the Bills jumped the Dolphins in the division quickly with this win, so I'm very intrigued on what happens here. I'm picking the Dolphins. Let's go 38-35.
Okay, I like that. I like something high scoring like that too. Yeah, I can't pick against the Dolphins right now until they show you something that to go against them.
Tua's MVP right now too. I mean,
oh yeah, no doubt, it's unquestionable.
Not even close.
Yeah, not even close. I would almost mimic the same score. I'm gonna go. I want to see something like 38-37 Dolphins. I want to see a 1 point game. So Buffalo's favored 2.5. By the way, going into this, which
I find that weird. That should be a pick 'em.
Yeah, I think so as well too. But yeah, fun. I don't even care about the score at this point. I just want something fun for Sunday afternoon. All right.
My game.
Oh yeah, your game. I guess I was thinking that was our game, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, we could do it that way if you want to pick.
No, it's fine. You
Okay.
can go ahead and pick your game. I think I already know where you're going.
No, you have no idea. I'm gonna shock the world right here.
There's two games I think I got. Can I guess? Can you let me guess?
Yeah, there's no way you know.
All right, first game that I'm gonna guess. It's not gonna be the game that I thought you were gonna pick. This is gonna be the game because of your reaction. You're gonna go Broncos Bears, battle of 0-3 teams.
Almost.
Are you going the other?
No, I'm not going the 0-3 games. I would have if I was going to pick
damn.
one of the 0-3 games. It's Broncos and Bears because the Panthers are in a different world because they're starting a rookie quarterback. Season drastically different than they went for the Broncos and Bears. So I don't think either of those teams expected to be 0-3 to start the year. No, I'm going Steelers at Texans. I find this to be an intriguing game. I want to see what C.J. Stroud looks like against a top-tier defense. The Steelers have proved that they're a very good defense. Just the eye test, I don't have the statistics to say that they're a top 5 defense, but, I mean, they have probably the best defensive player in the league right now in T.J. Watt. And I think they've looked really good defensively, maybe outside that first week against the 49ers, who were just rolling. But I'm interested to see what C.J. Stroud does against them. And if he can squeeze out this win against them, I mean, you got to put him as clearly the best rookie quarterback, and someone that's probably going to stick around for a while, and he's going to solidify getting Rookie of the Year early. The guy's looked great so far. I'm a Michigan fan, so as long as he's not playing for a team that I could care less about, and the Texans is a perfect team for that. I'm fine with him looking good, and he's throwing to a former Michigan player too, and Nico Collins. So I'm very intrigued to see just what the Texans look like in this one against a good defense. The surprise win last week, I think, maybe scares some teams that, hey, this team maybe actually can compete in that division that's not that good, and the Jaguars have not looked great to start the year. So I'm very intrigued to see what the Texans end up doing this week.
Yeah, I do think there's a chance. Like, I agree that's going to be fun to watch out of him. But two, this could also be that one weekend where he gets the, welcome to the league type moment when you're going up against a guy like TJ Watt on the opposite side. So, watch out for that.
Can very happen, yes.
Yeah, watch out. And Minka Fitzpatrick too on the back end too. So,
and then also, I mean, Kenny Pickett, I think, needs a game where he actually looks solid. And for what Houston did against Jacksonville last week, that offense got tons of weapons. Steelers got weapons everywhere too, but Kenny Pickett's the question mark. Can he actually make this team look decent? I think it's an interesting game just from both the teams' dynamics, from the quarterback play. That can these guys actually lead the team to do something this year, or is this one of those what's these flukes the last week or so for these teams?
Yeah, it's. Hopefully you just have a better lineup of games across the board than what we did last week as far as the outcomes. I think we'll get that this week. The only thing I'm going to am I picking? Yeah, I'm going to go. I think Steelers do get it done. I think that defense is just going to be too much for the rookie to handle, but I don't think he's going to look terrible is the way. And I think for Houston fans.
Does he throw his first interception?
Yes, I do think that's going to happen this week. I think for Houston, though, that you want a game like this early in his career, just so he can face this defense is.
Yeah,
I said it last week. Could be even better than the 49ers defense and be the best one in the NFL. So I think you want to see the test. And look, if he goes out and wins this game, you got yourself you better get excited as a Houston Texans fan. So it's a great test. I think that's the best way to look at it. I'm gonna go Steelers. Still have questions on the offensive side of the ball. Steelers 20, Texans 13.
Okay. I'm doing 17-13 Steelers as well. I don't think C.J. Stroud's going to throw his first interception. I think it's just going to be an ugly game. A lot of 3-and-outs from both teams. Hammer the under for sure.
Yeah. All right. Nothing. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of other games on Sunday. Nothing that we're going to sit here and talk about. We got other things to get to, but I'm going to file another formal complaint to the NFL. I don't understand how you only have 4 o'clock games again this week. I don't understand it whatsoever. I mean, yes, thankfully we get the 9:30 game in the morning. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's in charge of scheduling, but someone needs to be fired for this for back-to-back weeks. It's not hard.
I agree. I'm kind of excited for a London game though. I don't mind that. I mean, 9:30 not too early for me anymore.
Yeah,
I'm not going out on Saturday night. Yeah, I'm not going out on Saturday nights anymore. So, yeah, I'm fine with that. I kind of like that, but yeah, I agree. There should have the minimum 4 games in the afternoon slate. Because the problem is, especially like Cardinals and 49ers could get ugly, and it's going to be really, we're stuck with Raiders, Chargers, and Patriots, Cowboys. That's it.
Yeah, But hey, we get another when NFL or bye week start. What next week?
Yes.
Was it? Yeah, week 5. So this is
Week
our
5.
last full slate of NFL games to what until.
And 3 straight weeks of London games, or
Yeah,
at least international series games.
Yeah, and then I think 17 and 18. There's no bye weeks. Is that what? Or it could be like 16, 17, and 18.
Late in the year.
Late in the season. So embrace it. But the NFL continues to screw us by not giving us more than 3-4 o'clock games. So,
and I was right. There's 3 straight weeks of London games, and then week 9 has the Germany game.
All right, love it. Love an early morning game.
Actually,
so maybe that's how they
and
make
10,
it.
There's multiple Germany games. There's 2 back-to-back Germany
Yeah,
games.
there's 2. Yeah, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown was actually hoping that the Lions played in one, but they are not this year.
I was just
all right.
going through the schedule. I was like, why the fuck is someone playing on a Friday at 3 o'clock? It's Thanksgiving weekend. I was like,
Yeah, Black Friday game.
that's
Jeff Bezos.
crazy at 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
That's
but
a
he's playing
random time.
Playing chess. Owner of Amazon wants everyone to stay at home so they can do their shopping. So
Yeah, it's a shit game though. It's Dolphins at Jets. Poor
Well,
Jets.
it
It's
was-
on primetime all
I know.
year.
I think they had like 6 games and then
Yeah, it's insane.
A-Rod done.
Sucks for us.
Yeah, brutal. Flex them out. I'll always have a flex rule. All right, that wraps up football this week. So we're going to do something that we have not had the chance. I mean, we've done a little golf talk on the show, but we're actually going to talk some Ryder Cup. So Ryder Cup kicks off this week. Unfortunately for us, it is over in Europe, and the first round. So they play 36 holes on Friday, 36 holes on Saturday, and then 18 holes on Sunday. You'll at least be able to catch the afternoon wave in the morning when you wake up on Friday. And I mean, you could stay up all day Saturday if you want to be a true degenerate there. But we've got Ryder Cup this week. So USA taking on Europe over in Rome at Marco Simone Golf Club. Beautiful place if you have not seen it yet. Steady, have you? I know you're still kind of new to the whole golf world. Are you a big Ryder Cup guy?
No. So let me ask you this: so what's the format? I know you just said the 36 holes, but what's the format?
So they play 3 different formats, and it's what they call 4-ball, foursomes, and singles. So I don't know, I can't remember how it is laid out like morning and afternoon, but so on Friday and Saturday, so one wave in the morning, they'll play alternate shot. So you and I are partners. I hit the tee shot, you go hit the next shot. And you alternate in through there. So
That's called foursomes?
that is called foursomes, correct. Yep. And then 4-ball is what they call, is what you might know it as best ball. So you and I are partners again. We both just play our own ball, and whoever has the better score on each hole, we compare that to the 2 guys that we're going against. So there's a point available for each match, all the way through singles. So like even if you're down a lot going into Sunday, you can come storming back and get a huge victory. So
That's everybody on the team plays the singles, or is it
correct,
only
yes.
select? It's everybody.
Yeah, everybody, all 12 players play a singles match on Sunday. So 12 points available to be won. If you get to 14 and a half points, the United States are the defending Ryder Cup champions at the moment. So if they get to 14 and a half points, they win the Ryder Cup. If they get to 14, I believe it's there's 12 or 28 points available. If there's a tie, so 14-14, the United States retains the Ryder Cup. So, essentially, if there's a tie, it's whoever team won it last, they get to keep it. So
it's scored off of 36 holes for the first 2 days, not 18?
No,
To get
so
the
there,
point?
No. So you get there's four matches in the morning on Friday, 4 in the afternoons.
Okay.
So there's 8 available each day on Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday you have 12 points.
So the
available.
golfers themselves aren't playing 36 holes.
On what? On Sunday?
Friday and Saturday.
They can. Some guys will. So not all the same.
Oh, but
same
then
guys.
they might not play the next day.
Well, it goes back and forth. Some guys will play 36 on Friday. Some guys will play 36 on Saturday. It all depends. Like it's all about strategy of like who you sit or who you don't sit. So some guys could play
required to play a certain amount of time?
No, I think there was somebody on the European team last year that didn't play Friday or Saturday, but he played a singles match. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's all pick and choose of.
So there's 8 total matches each day on the first 2 days.
Correct. Yeah. So 8 points available.
Gotcha. Okay. So 16 points and then 12. So yeah, 30 points.
Oh no, that would be 28.
16. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because 14's a tie.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
You got to retain the cup. So, yeah. So that's happening this weekend.
They can end in a tie. They can end 14-14.
It can. Yeah, it can end in a tie 14-14. But then, yeah, because like, let's say you and I are playing head to head, and we go to a, we end the 18th hole tied. It doesn't go to extra. Yeah, it doesn't go to sudden death holes. It just ends as a half.
I get that, but so the whole tournament can end as a tie.
Correct. But it's a big deal because whoever won the Ryder Cup 2 years ago, retains it. So
that's so dumb.
It's technically like it's still kind of drawn out.
Alternate change golf for every hole.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
You gotta have a winner. You can't have a tie. Like that's ridiculous.
Realistically, there's not. It's not going to end up in a tie, but like the Solheim Cup for the ladies were this past week, and they ended in a tie. But because the European team won it last year, or won it the last time they played, they retained the cup. So they celebrated like they won it because they didn't have to give their Solheim Cup back. So, so a tie, yes, it does end in a tie for the records, but it still feels like a win to some degree to the United States because they didn't have to get the Ryder Cup back. It stays on.
So it's tied. I'm looking. It's 27 USA to 14 Europe ever. 43 total events. If you add up those numbers, that only equals 41. So there's been 2 ties. Yeah. So ridiculous.
It doesn't happen very often.
Ridiculous.
But the United States, I don't know if you have it in front of you. I forgot to look it up. I know it's something. I think it's since 1996. The United States have not won the Ryder Cup on European soil, I believe, since 1996. So essentially, since you and I were 3 years old, they have not been able to go over there and win. So you look at the rosters, and arguably, like this should go out and do it, but they've had better teams in the past, and they still haven't been able to get it done. So that's the big fascinating storyline going into this week for the U.S. side.
So you said 96 was the first time they.
I think that's the last time they won it on European soil. Yeah.
Trying to quickly scan this. 98 in Spain, they lost. It doesn't look like there was one in 97. They lost.
97. It's every 2 years. It shouldn't be.
I'm looking at it. There was. It looks like it's so 2002 to 1999, 97, 95. I don't know. That skipped 2001.
Yeah, I would assume because 9/11. It was right before 9/11.
So it used to be on odd years. It looks like they won in 93. I think 93 is what you're looking for.
Oh yeah, I mean I knew it was sometime in the 90s, so that doesn't surprise me. But in theory, this should be the team that gets it done. But like I said, there's been teams in the past. It's a different beast, man. This is, I think, for some guys even a bigger deal than majors. Brooks Koepka was asked about that. He does get nervous for this event, and a lot of these guys do. I want to phrase this correctly. This is the Olympics essentially for golf. I know Olympics golf is in the Olympics now, but this is the Olympic type style for golf. There's a lot of history here behind it, and you get to see some personality out of guys that you never thought you would see. So it makes for a fun week, and especially for 2 years ago, we get it on our soil when our fans are going crazy, and then it's on European soil, so expect fans to be nasty to the American side. But it makes for great television, and it's a lot of fun when these matches are close coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I think I saw that it was like the top all the top 10 golfers in the world are playing, or pretty close to that.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the way typically they've got their whole point system for the Ryder Cup. So, there's 6 automatic qualifiers on the United States side. And a lot of it's done through, again, a point system. And then the other, 6 plus 8, that's 12. So the other 8 are captain's picks. Usually it's pretty close to what I just did 8. That was bad math.
That's
the other
14.
6. Yeah, bad math. Not a math guy. Only football
so
math.
I'm looking at it right now. The top 13 current world golf rankings are all playing in this event this weekend.
Yep, sounds right. So
lowest ranked golfer is Hogard. Is that how you say his name?
Yep, on the European side.
Yeah, the lowest 3 golfers the lowest 5 golfers are all European. Lowry, Rose, McIntyre, Aberg. Oh, is this an American? No, this is not American.
Who, Ludwig Aberg?
Yeah, Aberg, and then Hogard are all outside the top 25 World Golf rankings.
Fun note about that European side. So Ludwig Aberg on the European side. So he just debuted as a rookie this year in 2023. He already made the team. He was the last captain's pick, but he's expected to be like the next big thing, like the next Rory McIlroy or something to come out of the European side.
Really?
So it's going to be fun to watch. I don't know how much we'll actually see him in this Ryder Cup. This could be a guy that you only see one time before the singles matches on Sundays, but should be fun to see him in that type of atmosphere. So I don't quote me on this stat either, but I think he might be the first player. Him and Hogard both. I don't know if Hogarth played in one, but Aberg for sure might be the first player to play on a Ryder Cup team that's never played in a major for golf.
He's never played in a major?
Correct. Nope.
Damn.
Yeah, so just introduced right to it. So should be a fun week. I do expect the Americans to go out and win for the first time. Lot of positive, one, I'd say better players on the team. And a great roster. I like the Americans, and I'm only going to say this because I want it to be a close scoring. I'm going to say the Americans 16.5 to, what's that math come out to?
What are we looking for total? 28?
28, yeah, 16.5. So what's that, 11?
11.5.
Yeah, 11.5 United States. So could be over halfway through the singles matches. That's another fun fact for you too, Steady. After let's say the United States clinch it, all the single matches still play out for the record books. So there's an official, it could be long over within the first 2 singles matches, but all the matches have to continue to play until its very, very end.
Damn. I'm looking at their official web. So in 21, when U.S. had 19, is that the best ever?
19 points? I mean, it was an ass kicking for sure, but I don't know if it's the best ever.
It says USA sets new scoring record. Would that be scoring record meaning 19 points?
Yep. There you go.
Interesting. Yeah.
The Ryder Cup, by the way, it is.
I'll go 17. No. Closer. 15.5 to 13.5 or to 12.5. Whatever the fuck that is. I don't know.
Yeah, the halves throw you off. But yeah, you got it right. 12.5. That would be fun. The Ryder Cup, a lot of fun to bet on. So unfortunately, Steady, because you're not in a non-betting state, there's so many props that you can do of who's going to win this hole or the matches. A lot of fun betting props that you can do out there for Ryder Cup. So keep your eye on the sports book because there's actually a lot of promotions I think they do for it as well too. Yeah, definitely check it out if you have not done that. But should be a fun week.
No sleep then.
Yeah, so that could be. I mean, yeah. That's the fun part, at least, about it being over in Europe, is it leads into, some of the later matches might end during football or when football's starting, but you can have this going in the morning along with the London game. So
I thought you said
prime time.
Oh yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay,
yeah. Makes for fun television. All right, anything else for Ryder Cup that you want to mention or anything like that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, should be fun. All right, last part of the show that I know I wanted to talk about at least. So for us being, Detroit sports junkies for our entire life, especially on the baseball side. You and I both played baseball growing up. Miguel Cabrera's last week is here. Feels a bit surreal. Just kind of felt like a guy that was always going to be around it, and he could be around after he's done actually playing the game in baseball. I know he says he wants to stay around the game, be a hitting coach or whatever it may be. But it is the last week that we will see Miguel Cabrera in a Tigers uniform, which that really makes me feel like an adult now. A lot of the years were spent watching the early 2010s Tigers compete for World Series and compete in the American League. Those are essentially those days are long gone now, and this is kind of the final stamp on that. To me, as bad as this is going to sound, and it's not that I haven't appreciated what Miggy's done over the last few years. His 500 home run was huge. His 3,000 hit was huge. Saw a lot of milestones that arguably I don't know when the next time we'll see stuff like that, especially with the Triple Crown, facet of it as well too. I think a lot of Miggy's hope and aspirations with the Tigers died when Justin Verlander left and they started selling off a lot of the team. Yeah, you were hoping we were going to walk into something magical when AJ Hinch was here, which I do think that, there is something building here in Detroit. Look, they just got eliminated from the playoffs last week. Spencer Torkelson has bounced back and had a phenomenal season after a slow start and everything he went through last year. There is a lot of promise with this Detroit Lions organization, and it's a very bittersweet end, but I think a lot of positive things are on the rise for the Detroit Tigers as a whole of the organization. But it is going to be a sad weekend with Miguel officially being done with his playing career.
Yeah, do you think I'm trying to see if he's close to anything that he could possibly get this weekend? I can't remember off the top of my head, but do you think like a lot of guys are coming back for especially Sunday's game, like some of the older players and Leland?
Yeah, I think
in attendance for that.
Leland will be there. I would be shocked. I mean, if Victor Martinez and Prince Fielder aren't there, I would be shocked. I expect those guys to be there. Ian Kinsler. I don't know what the baseball slate looks like. I'm sure there's going to be some video message from Justin Verlander out there. I think you're going to see a ton of former players and a lot of those guys from the early 2010s team out there on the field on Sunday. And it's going to be, the last athlete to, that we knew he was retiring. We didn't know Calvin was going to hang it up when he did. But the last guy that I would say on this level of where Miggy's at of retiring would be probably Nick Lidstrom. And Lidstrom, I don't even think if I'm thinking back correctly, I don't think we knew his season was coming to an end. Yzerman, we didn't. It's up there. It's the biggest retirement in Detroit sports since Nick Lidstrom, in my opinion. And that's no disrespect to Henrik Zetterberg or Datsuk either.
The fun thing about Lidstrom, I went to Red Hot Chili Peppers concert right after he retired. It was probably June that the concert was, so shortly after his season ended, after they got eliminated from the playoffs. And he came out because they're drummers from Bloomfield Hills, I think, somewhere out in that direction. And Lidstrom came out in one of the encores. All the musicians had Red Wing stuff on. It was at Joe Louis. Lidstrom came out on stage, and the crowd went nuts. It was crazy. So, because I don't think he really had that during the season, like kind of how Miggy's done his farewell kind of tour. But to do that inside Joe Louis, he still kind of got something there. And I'm sure he maybe done. I don't know if the Chili Peppers did another concert there that same weekend, but I imagine that's probably one of the coolest things that he got to experience as he retired.
Yeah, I think hockey players aren't as open about when they're going to retire or when their last year is going to be. They you see tradition. They make that after the season's done and over with. It's crazy. It's sad. Again, one of those things that make you feel really old. It's a guy that you've watched his entire career of. It sucks we never got him a World Series here in Detroit. But I guess my question here for you, Steady, is what's your favorite moment for over all the years watching Miggy? And do you think we'll see him around the organization at all moving forward?
Yeah, I think he'll still be here or there. His best moment, I mean, I'm going to just be generic here, but I think the home run off of Mariano Rivera, I mean, that's one of the greatest at-bats of all time. Two superstars going at it, and that was the height of like Miggy's career at that point, and to just hit that ball straight dead center field for a home run, it's got to be one of the most memorable things for him, I'd imagine.
Yeah. It sucks for me, too, because what I remember from that game is we didn't end up winning it, even after that fact. But, you know, you had Mariano Rivera, and all he could say after the fact was wow.
Yeah, he just like smiles at Miggy after, like as he's rounding the bases, like what am I supposed to do? Like one of the greatest at bats ever. Like if you go watch that, you can find that clip very easily. Watch that whole at bat. It was a true battle of two superstars, and the announcers did a great job doing that play by play there, and just letting greatness be greatness in that at bat.
Yeah, I think my favorite, if I had to point to one moment, I mean, you can point to a million things with him, right? I mean, you can go back to all the goofy moments, the Miggy being Miggy, and a lot of what I think my favorite moment is they were playing against the Kansas City Royals regular season game, and he took one to opposite field and walked it off for a home run. And I was watching that game with my sister in my brother's room, and it just it was so much fun. I just remember all the hype around that team for those couple years. It was World Series or bust, and unfortunately, with all the sports teams, we haven't had that feeling, and that's what's making so far the Lions season a lot of fun. Is I don't know if it's Super Bowl or bust for this team, but it's at least playoffs. It's the closest thing that we've experienced, I think, since those Detroit Tigers days of having a real team back here in Detroit. But yeah, if I had to point to one moment, that would be it. And then obviously him being celebrated in Kansas City when it was locked in that he was going to win the Triple Crown is, we were spoiled the fact that we were able to see that because, I mean, who knows? I don't know. It was, 60 years or since the 60s, since the last Triple Crown before that. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, there's a chance in our lifetime we never see that again. And it's I like to think that every time I went down to the ballpark, I stood up, gave him an ovation, and, I appreciated him for all those years leading up to, his final game this Sunday.
Yeah, they mowed the grass and everything for him. Seemingly the crowds are going to be pretty epic at Comerica Park that we haven't probably seen in a long time too. So it's going to be a good weekend. If you're around, probably try to go at least see him. I think Comerica Park's going to be a lot of fun, and you don't have to worry about any football getting in the way, at least Lions-wise, this weekend because they're playing on Thursday night. So works out well for them because I think that's also been said that he's not playing Thursday night. So there you go. So I guess as people are listening to this, they're proud he's playing Wednesday night. So he won't be playing Thursday, and then he's playing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So you'll get to see him a lot. And I imagine they might get him out on first base a little bit too. Yeah. I mean, I think that'd be fun. I assume in each game, I assume my thought of the way it's going to go. I don't even think if it's a close game or what it matter. I think at some point, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you'll see that game stopped, whether he's on base or if he's out in the field. They'll call a timeout and pull him off for a standing ovation for maybe all 3 nights, just so each fan, that goes down to the ballpark this weekend has that opportunity to say goodbye. So it's going to be. That's why I think he might even start first base every game this weekend, because then they give that'll be an opportunity to at least pull him off the field. He'll go out, do warm ups, and then pull him. It's an easy way to stop it in case like the batting order just doesn't line up with getting him that standing ovation in that game.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I actually have goosebumps talking about it right now. But yeah, end of an era here in Detroit. I think he's leaving this team in very good hands. Like I said, with a lot of the young talent coming up. Steady, I know you're saying pregame pre-show that you're hoping like maybe change his mind and stay around one more year, and because you think the Tigers are going to be a playoff team next year. But yeah, he said his piece. I think he's definitely more than happy to be done, and he says he wants to be a coach, and he says he wants to stay around Detroit. So I'll be interested. I think that'll happen. I remember when Omar Vizquel was here too, and those two had so much fun. So yeah, gonna be bittersweet, but appreciate all those years. It's crazy that hell, he's been here 15 years. Got him in 2007. So when you
probably went a lot longer than a lot of people thought, regardless of his contract being as long as it is. But the guy's playing for a long time. So I think we got a lot of Miggy. Well worth that trade to have him play for us.
And I'm glad we've got the piece too where he's going to retire here in Detroit. Like it's not going to be a Verlander situation where Verlander didn't retire here or Scherzer. So I'm glad for fans of Detroit we get that moment with him. Even though he didn't get to go win another World Series besides the early one in his career with the Marlins.
At least he's got one.
He's at least got one. So, and a lot of other accolades to get it. So, gonna miss Miggy. It's gonna be weird not seeing the 24 out there and the Tigers lineup each day. But that 24 will be out there on the outfield wall along with the statue in a matter of no time.
Agreed, completely.
So. Yeah, that's all we got. That was a action-packed show. I know we were trying to aim for an hour and a half. We're right at the 2-hour mark yet again, but that's just what we do here on the Nick Leach Show. So enjoy football this weekend. If you get the chance to tune into Miggy, definitely do it. It's going to be must-watch television, and we will see you all on Tuesday.